Let's go make a killing.
All right.
Welcome to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
10 to the 5 to the 4, play 1, touchdown!
The sharpest football contest show in the land.
I'll take the action. My Birds, Benjamin Franklin's team, favored by 1.5 points. I'll give you 3 more.
You're now riding shotgun with 2 former contest winners in Brady Cannon and James Salinas. And getting a former player's perspective with 9-year NFL veteran Mike Pritchard. Let's go! As they guide you through strategy, process, and your contest picks each and every week of the season.
I do like the idea of a parlay.
Now here's your host, Brady Cannon.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 6, Season 2, Week 4 in the NFL. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by our friends at Circa Sports and the Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and Mike Pritchard with you. Let's take a look at the lay of the land. The carnage in the consensus in the against the spread contest. My goodness, the majority struggling out of the gate through the first 3 weeks here. In the super contest, the consensus 2, 12, and 1. In Circa Sports Million, 3 and 12, 5, 24 and 1. Overall in these 2 contests against the spread. Look at Super Contest College, a couple familiar names still there at the top. Bill, I don't know if that's Bill Krakenberger. I'm kind of rooting that it is. Crooklyn Bala, our friend Noah Parker still up there. Steve Fezzik and Ken Thompson, the Grinch. All of those names populating the leaderboard in Super Contest College. Circa Survivor, finally a little carnage there in week 3 with the Packers going down to the Browns, the Falcons getting shut out by the Panthers. Over 3,000 entries eliminated in week 3 in Circa Survivor. Now under 14,000 entries left. 13,800 plus have advanced into week 4. And it hasn't looked all that pretty for us here, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, going 2 and 3 against the spread in both Circa Sports Million and in the Westgate Super Contest, but we are well ahead of the majority. So let's flip those 2 and 3s into 3 and 2s and 4 and 1s and make our way further up the leaderboard. Circa Survivor, knock on wood, doing just fine. All 3 of our entries make the way into week 4. Gentlemen, we've got a game overseas this week. The Vikings and the Steelers. I think we all feel that there's a lot of unknowns there, not only about these teams, but what do we do with international games? The field, Dublin, Ireland, the rain, the weather, the travel. It is really tough to handicap those games. And I don't know about you, James, but when we won it in 2011, we had a rule. We didn't play any international games. Now, fast forward 14 years later, this is more commonplace for these teams, but I think we're staying away from this one, gentlemen. The one we are going to is another weird one. And James, I'll start with you. The Washington Commanders visiting the Atlanta Falcons, the Falcons off of that loss to the Carolina Panthers.
We'll find out if this team has any competitive pride talking about the Falcons after getting shut out last week on the road at Carolina. Carolina picking up their first W of the season and completely dominating that game, especially defensively. Penix really looks lost. He was seeing the rush and really kind of clouded his judgment as far as making good decisions and good throws. Pick 6 thrown out in the flat, easy read for a touchdown for Carolina. And I think for Atlanta, we've talked about the coaching staff there, in particular with Raheem Morris, and just feeling like, at least for me, this is just not a coach that I trust going in. Not that this is a big game for them, but it is a rematch of a game towards the latter part of last season. Sunday night, it was really Penix coming out party last year in the big game that he played. And Daniels had a massive game. It really was the leading rusher. He had over 100 yards rushing, a few 300 yards passing, etc. 3 touchdowns. I mean, it was a shootout game. It was a lot of fun to watch. But we know that on the Washington side, so many injuries, especially offensively. I don't know where they're going to run the football with. It looks like they're down to Chris Rodriguez back there to rush the football. Doesn't get a lot of touches. 3rd year with the Commanders going forward here. He's going to have to be the feature back because I don't think the rookie McCluskey's going to play in this game. It's really just a banged up team with no Daniels. He has been limited so far in practice, at least with Wednesday and Thursday practices. It'd be really dangerous, I think. It's such a young season and such a great player. Last thing you want to do is put him out there in this matchup, especially playing on turf, Pritch. You know what that's like. Different stadium now there with Mercedes-Benz. But I think with the Atlanta Falcons, Is this a team that we're really willing to trust? I think from the edge standpoint of hopefully competitive pride coming back after getting bounced last week and shut out, but also I think with the health, and it's just a clear advantage when it just talking about health here, Pritchard, from the Falcons side versus a really banged up Washington team on the offensive side. I think we're leaning towards taking the Falcons and Raheem Morris again one last time.
Yeah, you know what, guys? I mean, they're at home, but so many storylines in this one too that make it attractive for me. Because I, as a player, the extra motivation is a factor. Extra energy is a factor, and so now you're talking about a situation in which Marcus Mariota comes back to Atlanta, a team that he walked out on. Remember that? He quit on that team and that organization. So I'm sure the fellas were reminded about that, and certainly, you think about the skill set of Marcus and where he's at right now in his career. Played great against the Raiders at home, but can they do that again? Can he do that in particular again? And can he can't lean on the running game. So I think they lean on him for the running game, which, okay, if you're Atlanta, you kind of know that. Offensively, Penix, they need to stay away from trying to find out what Penix can do. At this point, it's no longer a discovery if you're Raheem Morris and Robinson, the coordinator. I mean, you got to go with the guys that you drafted and the guys that can play well for you. And that's Bijan Robinson. I mean, that guy is incredible. The last time they were on the road and they played decent football, they got a lot of turnovers defensively against Minnesota. That's their lone victory. I mean, they've lost 2 games within the division, which also pipes in a little bit of desperation. I think what you said earlier, James, Raheem Morris, he's got to be careful that he won't land on the hot seat if he loses this game at home and loses it in a convincing fashion. So I think as a former player, when you get your ass is kicked and then you come back out there, you're going to have a good week of practice and you're going to be prepared soundly, certainly from the coaching staff. So I think at home, Marcus going on a road against that team and certainly Atlanta with the ability to be disruptive defensively at times, I do give them an edge too in that matchup too. You can see the line is where it's at for a reason. But outside the division, I think Atlanta can hold their own.
James, you brought this up. We were talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Philadelphia Eagles, and we were against the Buccaneers last week in that spot against the Jets. That one came home against the number, almost lost outright. And part of our handicap was looking ahead to the Philadelphia Eagles, a big matchup here. And it looks attractive to take Tampa Bay with that extra hook, 3 plus the hook. They're supposed to get Chris Godwin back, maybe Tristan Wirfs across that offensive line. But you reminded me of something very important, that Philadelphia may have had this matchup circled.
I think so. Last year, the same spot, week 4, Philadelphia traveling down to Tampa Bay. Now, Tampa last year in that week 3 spot, we talked about it on last week's show. And it's kind of where we're leaning with the Jets and took the Jets plus the number. It was a flat spot for them in their schedule, and they lost at home handily to the Denver Broncos. Definitely righted the ship the next week, came back and put it on Philly. They were up 24-0 in that game last year in week 4, midway through the second quarter. And it was really just kind of, no, I wouldn't say garbage time, but you get a 24-0 lead at home. Now you're just kind of grinding the clock out and coasting through, which they did do an easy win last year. Think about Philly and the defending champs now coming in. When teams see those schedules, and Pritch, you tell me this, when you see those schedules come out and you see certain teams on there, especially for a team like Philadelphia, and if they're trying to find any sense of motivation as a redemption tour, especially when you were the Super Bowl champions from that year, you see that game that you just completely got worked in down in Tampa Bay. Don't you circle that game as a player, Pritch, and as a team saying, we want a little redemption going back to Tampa?
Yeah, no doubt. And then also the mojo that the Eagles have generated too. There's a big question mark, I think, when you win a championship and then you try to come back and see what type of team you're going to have. And do you generate momentum? Do you have that confidence? And yeah, offensively, they haven't played like they want to play, but this is a collection of quizzes along the way too, right? So getting that victory against the Rams the way that they did, they take that momentum and that confidence builder for this season on the road against Tampa, on top of the fact that they want to give them payback as well.
Crazy victory for the Eagles and a real bad beat for bettors, us included, on the Rams. Plus 3.5 last week. When we come back, Two big favorites in the AFC East. How do we handle those games in week 4? When we return right here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Want to gamble like the pros? At LasVegasAdvisor.com, you'll find the world's best how-to books, software, and strategy cards featuring blackjack, poker, video poker, and of course, sports betting, including the Stanford Wong Classic Sharp Sports Betting. Don't forget LVA's Member Rewards coupon book, offering discounts on dining and entertainment, including a buy one, get one for the awesome lobster buffet at the Palms, and more than $700 in gambling-free play, match play, and bonus offers. Up your gambling game today at LasVegasAdvisor.com.
Las Vegas isn't just a place to play, it's a great place to live. Louis Payon with Magenta Real Estate is a trusted 5-star real estate professional who's called Vegas home for over 3 decades. Whether you're looking to buy or sell, Louis will guide you every step of the way with proven strategies that deliver results. Call Louis today at 702-849-7160. That's 702-849-7160. Louis Payon is the official realtor of the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circus Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Brady Cannon, Mike Pritchard, and James Salinas with you. We continue our way through the card from an against the spread perspective. And our friend Derek Stevens, the CEO and owner at Circa, the Golden Gate, and the D, talked about this game maybe breaking records for the most popular survivor pick ever. The Buffalo Bills, 15.5-point favorites earlier in the week. They were as high as 16.5 or 17-point favorites, hosting the New Orleans Saints against the spread. So do you want to lay that kind of wood, Mr. Pritchard?
No, I mean, the league is funny. It's fascinating. And there's so many factors. That Buffalo is an elite team, guys, and you know, the Saints are just horrible. Can't execute on the road, and here they go on the road again against the best team perhaps in football. And so the numbers out there, it is attractive to lay because you think Buffalo's just going to go up and down the field for them. But we know in the league, and we know, you know, from a competitive standpoint, there can be letdowns. Now, I do think that there's a disbelief within those Saints organization. They're going to give Kellen Moore some room, and he's got to find out what these players are all about. But we know they can't execute. I mean, we know that they're in over their head in the deep end for this season right now, which probably could be their plan. They're coming out of that Division II, which I absolutely hate. From a betting standpoint, when you think about a team in this situation on the road site, I can stay away from this big number, even though I think some people might be confident with Buffalo. And like you mentioned, too, we'll get to it a little bit later, just a heavy favorite here for Survivor. But, you know, there's another game within their division, guys, that what is up with the AFC East? You know, this is not a Mike Vrabel team. It doesn't feel like New England is there yet with all these mistakes that they're making. I mean, Vrabel was supposed to be there to correct all those, the fumbles and inability to execute. May doesn't look accurate and settle in as a quarterback. James, are you attracted to this game at all as the Carolina Panthers go on the road with certainly a victory in hand?
More so the number than as opposed to the game, and definitely not attracted to saying I can't wait to get my popcorn and get an ice cold one and sit here and watch the Patriots and the Carolina Panthers first thing in the morning. But as far as the number goes, I just saw the number. I was kind of surprised that the Patriots were that big of a favorite. I think we finally saw the Carolina Panthers, a little bit of love from bettors coming into the season on the Panthers this to start the year, and didn't complete egg on the first game down in Jacksonville. But I'm not sure where the Patriots are right now. Vrabel just trying to figure out his personnel and establish a new culture down there and go back to their winning ways when he was there under Belichick as a linebacker. But I think here for the Patriots, it's too big a number for me to lay, Brady, thinking about the Patriots on this side. I know with Carolina, what Carolina team are we going to see? Are we going to see the team that we saw in week 1 down in Jacksonville and just never really compete within that game, as well as the first 3 quarters in week 2 at Arizona? Or are we going to see the team that completely blitzed and shut out a division rival in the Falcons last week in Carolina? I'm not really sure which team we're going to see show up here. I don't really want to watch this game. So I'm attracted to the number, but I'm not attracted to the game. This one, Brady, is a stay away from me.
Yeah, it feels like the majority is backing Carolina here, basically for the same reasons you're stating. Boy, who are the Patriots to be laying 5.5 points? But last week's results were a little bit misleading, and you talked about it, Mike. Vrabel and the Patriots, they've been turning the ball over like crazy. 5 turnovers in that loss to the Steelers last week. And then conversely, the Carolina Panthers, beneficiaries of 3 Atlanta Falcons turnovers, including a pick 6. Atlanta outgained the Carolina Panthers by over a yard per play in that contest and still was shut out. So I think that's why this line is where it is. We were originally thinking about possibly landing on the Panthers here. I talked myself out of that. I think last week's results are skewing the picture here of what truly went down. Turnovers are random. We know that, and you don't expect that to happen for a second week in a row. Looks like a stay away game for us here on the card in week 4. One that we did gravitate towards, gentlemen, was the Cleveland Browns visiting the Detroit Lions, and the Detroit Lions looked nearly perfect last weekend in really a great game with the Baltimore Ravens. We'll talk about them later on in the program. But what an effort by Dan Campbell and Detroit to take down the Ravens on the road. And now they return home against a Browns team, James, that is coming off of a victory, a stunner that knocked a lot of people out of Survivor in getting past the Green Bay Packers.
Defense won it for them. They created offense in short fields for the Browns offense. Because we know the Browns just cannot move the football. And Flacco is just, we know he's veteran quarterback, old quarterback standing back there, doesn't want to get hit. He's not going to stand in there any longer, and no running game. And I think that's what he benefited from a couple years ago when he had a second half of the season having to step in to the quarterback role with the Browns earlier a few years back. But it was the running game that really opened up a lot of play action pass. That's not there for them right now. But this is a really stout defensive front, and I think it's a complete different look from what we saw last week from Detroit being able to go. They went heavy. They had multiple plays where they ran 6 offensive linemen and just gashed and pounded on the interior against a really beat up front for the Baltimore Ravens. I think here, this is going to be a completely different matchup. And it's going to be, in a sense here, it's going to be back on Goff to have to make plays, because I don't think that running game is going to happen here, Pritch, against this Browns front. I think if we come here with this Browns side, it's only going to be the Browns, either 9.5 or 10, with the Super Contest and the Circa Millions here. Completely different matchup defensively from the Browns to the Ravens that we saw on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with that. I mean, I think Dan Campbell and the bunch up there in Detroit have something to prove or disprove with Ben Johnson leaving, Aaron Glenn leaving, and they replace those guys. And I mean, they showcased the new defensive coordinator big time for Detroit. If you're Cleveland and you are this stout defensively, you're going to play like that. You're going to try to attack the football too. And we wonder, at least I do, about Goff. In that regard, if there's no running game. I mean, they, like Brady said, they did anything and everything they wanted to do against Baltimore. Their game plan was completely working, but that doesn't really happen each and every week in the National Football League. They gear up for you, and then certainly they try to have a game plan to defend what you want to do, but can you adjust? And then I think that's where we're going to see Detroit put to the test. If they truly have to adjust offensively, can they do that? And then, the other question, what kind of offense can the Browns generate? I mean, they're going to have to generate points off of turnovers, in my opinion, in this game.
Yeah, I think that's a great take. I think turnovers will be key here. And, what we're talking about with the Detroit Lions, and you kind of allude to it, Mike, they looked nearly perfect on Monday night. You don't expect that to repeat itself week in and week out, week to week in the NFL. When we come back, Jackson Dart makes his debut in the NFL for the New York Giants as we continue on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Want to enter the biggest and best football contests in Las Vegas? Look no further than footballcontest.com to get the info you need to succeed. Covering Circa Million, Circa Survivor, Grandissimo, and every super contest at the Westgate Superbook. Reserve the most trusted proxy service in the business now at footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have been leaders in the industry for 20 years. They submit your picks while you focus on picking winners. Experience matters. Go with the pros at footballcontest.com and start winning now.
So Jackson Dart the first-round draft choice for the New York Giants, will replace Russell Wilson in New York as they look to finally get a win as they have begun the season 0-3. They will welcome the Los Angeles Chargers to town, who are off to a 3-0 start. This is the first game outside of the AFC West division for Jim Harbaugh and the Lightning Bolts, and they are a road favorite of 6.5 points, Michael. Do you like laying 6.5 points on the road? Not necessarily, but what do we know about this Giants team? Well, we know they're not very good with Russell Wilson at the helm. What can we expect out of Mr. Dart?
Well, they no longer trust Russ because the guy, this is Russell Wilson in a nutshell. He feels like he had a superb game against Dallas, right? And his back, and he's this legendary quarterback, but then he forgets that he threw an interception that cost him the game at the end of the game. So yeah, your stats look good and you can throw the football, but yeah, you still are just a guy who's polarizing. His teammates don't like him, right? And he hasn't even been in New York that long. And then you throw in the factor that Daboll is under a tremendous amount of heat. You got to get the rookie in there. So I think they're throwing him in there. Jackson Dart, they're throwing him in there. Now I will say people are high on him. A lot of people were high on him from an evaluation standpoint, but this is real football. This is Harbaugh. This is the Chargers who feel like they can win a division. If not win a division, maybe host the AFC Championship game. So they're in a very competitive division too. They go on the road. The travel doesn't concern me at all. I think when you look at the Chargers and their younger players are really stepping up big time. Herbert has stepped up. He's comfortable through operating that offense. They haven't really generated their running game like I want to see them do. And I'll be curious if they do that in this matchup to try to get that going, because I think they're going to need that a little bit, but they're going to get after Jackson Dart, and Neighbors is the go-to guy. There's some things you can do defensively to kind of slow that down. And I don't believe Daboll is going to give the entire playbook to Dart as well. So I think they're limited in that regard, even though Russ has lost the locker room once again. But I like the Chargers on the road, guys. James, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Typically, this would be that flat spot in the schedule for the Chargers. You think about the first 3 weeks of the season for Los Angeles and all 3 division games, and now they're sitting in the driver's seat in the AFC West because they won all 3 of those division games. And now you're going to go on the road, a non-conference game. You're playing the lowly Giants here, and I would be more inclined to say, well, this is probably a stay away game, just because if it was Russell Wilson or any other quarterback in there, but because it is a rookie, I think we've heard some rumblings from the Chargers defense saying, really, you're going to put a rookie and he's going to come play us? Feeling like, these guys, in any sport, in any professional sport, there's a competitiveness, and guys are always looking for some edge to try to wear that chip on their shoulder and give them some motivation. Well, I think they found it here, and I think they're excited to show the rookie Dart what it's like to come play in the National Football League. So from that perspective, Brady, I do like the Chargers in this matchup. I think it's going to be really struggle here. It's there, like you said, Pritchard, they're really going to have to condense the offense. It's not a good offensive line. It's a really stout defensive front, and I think the defensive coordinator Mentor has been really good about mixing up a lot of different looks in their zone coverage. It's not just one of those bend but don't break kind of coverages. So I think here it's going to be a really struggle for the Giants. They've struggled to score for years. I think that continues in this game, Brady.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I got to believe Jackson Dart will inject some enthusiasm into that locker room that you referenced, Mike, but will it be enough? This is a very good Los Angeles Chargers team. You know, everybody here on the show, I think we agree. We've been on the Jaguars a couple times. I think I am liking what I'm seeing out of Liam Cohen. Trevor Lawrence has been all right. He just can't get a receiver to catch the ball. They are dropping so many balls for this guy, and that has led to a lot of problems out of the gate for this team that otherwise looks pretty decent. The 49ers just doing it with smoke and mirrors. They're really beaten up, but they are off to a 3-0 start, and they will host the Jacksonville Jaguars here in Week 4 in Santa Clara. And interesting, Mike, the market right now, as we record this show, is 3 across the board in favor of San Francisco. But in the contest, you've got to lay 3.5. And that is, making for food for thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I think San Francisco, everybody's banged up. Both of their quarterbacks, Purdy or Mac Jones, are banged up with the similar injury as well. So I think Kyle can only scheme so much. He's running out of playmakers. And then, you have McCaffrey, but we know about McCaffrey. He's long in the tooth a little bit. I like the youthful enthusiasm with Cohen, what he has on that defense side of the ball. And I'm attracted to the Jaguars. I'll be honest with you. The only reservation is Trevor Lawrence. Like, this is a prove-it game, James, for me, for Trevor Lawrence. And a lot of people, I think, to see what Trevor Lawrence is all about.
If it was a 45-minute game, I'd like the Jaguars in this spot, Brady, but it's 60 minutes. I need to see the Jaguars play a full 60 minutes to compete on the road and win games like this on the road. I just don't trust them. I got to show me, see it to prove it. I don't know if they can play a full 60 minutes.
Good point. They've given away a lot of games late. We are into the late slate. We'll be back in just a moment.
Looking for your next ultimate golf experience? Discover Valley High Golf Club, a tropical paradise on the Las Vegas Strip, featuring lush greenery, water features, Balinese tropical plants, white sand, and black volcanic rock, creating an enchanting atmosphere. Valley High creates a memorable golf experience for a typical foursome, a group celebrating a bachelor or bachelorette party, or your next corporate outing. It's award-winning golf on the Strip, Vegas style. Book your ultimate golf experience now at valleyhighgolfclub.com.
Welcome back to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circa Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Brady Cannon, Mike Pritchard, and James Salinas with you. Check us out online, footballcontestshow.com. All the information up there, all of our picks, our fine sponsors, where you can find us as far as podcasts, YouTube, you name it. It's all right there at footballcontestshow.com. Gentlemen, we shift over to the afternoon slate and also our breakdown of Circa Survivor. Also, of course, Super Contest Survivor, another contest on the vast menu of options here in Las Vegas in 2025. We are, of course, enrolled in Circa Survivor. All three of our entries, knock on wood, once again, have made it into week 4. And I mentioned the afternoon slate. You figure this is going to be a popular one. People going right back to the Packers. A lot of people lost with them last week, but Sunday Night Football, Micah Parsons and company going to Dallas. They're a big favorite. The Houston Texans at 0-3 are a 7-point favorite at home. And then, of course, the Buffalo Bills. We talked about that one. Maybe a record number of participants in Survivor contests around the country landing on the Buffalo Bills this week. James, there are a few options from just a win straight up standpoint this week.
Obviously, for the Bills, 73% of Circa Survivor contestants or entries, put it that way, have the Bills available. And yeah, you're talking about the most advantageous spot as far as the matchup goes, being a 15.5, 16-point favorite are the Bills this week. Yeah, no brainer, right? You just fire in the Bills. But also, you got to look at next week. And if you're just looking at 1 week at a time, now it's not as advantageous next week for the Bills, but they do get to host division rival, the New England Patriots, on Sunday Night Football up there in northern New York. So I think in this matchup here, I don't want to take the Bills in this spot because you look at the week 5 schedule and it is a really challenging schedule. And it's one where I really struggle to find just a sure shot outside of what we just talked about with the Bills. Looking at week 5, a lot of divisional games, a lot of ugly games, right? You got the Giants go to New Orleans. Somebody's going to have to win in that game because I don't think the Giants are going to win this weekend against the Chargers. So you're going to have a lot of bad football teams matching up. Dallas matching up with the New York Jets. And then some big games like Denver at Philadelphia. But Philly's probably one of those teams you're going to want to save, in particular for Circa Survivor, because of not only their scheduling spot later in the season, but also, they're going to be one of the holiday teams. So it's going to be a challenging week come week 5, Pritch. And so through our discussions, I think we've landed a couple other spots as opposed to just putting the automatic square on the Bills and moving forward to week 5.
Yeah, I got to say this, guys. I mean, if anything, the league has proven to me once again that there's the bulk of the league is so similar. Meaning that there's a lot of teams already in backup quarterback situations, already with some key injuries, and we're not even out of September yet. What's going to happen to these teams as we get deeper and deeper into the schedule? More attrition kind of builds up on people. I look at the landscape of the league right now, and I can confidently say that Buffalo is an elite team. I think this year Philly is on their way to proving that they might be an elite team. Detroit we'll find out a lot more about them in a coming weeks, but they're kind of trending that way. Other than that, I mean, I can't really pinpoint another elite team. There's a lot of question marks. Look at the AFC North. Cincinnati is going to go on the road, and they're catching, what is it, 6.5, 7 points, I believe, right now, for 7.5 for this game against the Broncos. And they're first place in that division because they beat Cleveland, right? And you think about before the Burrow injury, the Bengals are funny because they feel like they're okay. That's the feeling that they have. They're going to be okay too once Browning kind of settles in, right? So at the end of the day, or at the end of the season, I mean, we might be looking at the Bengals fighting for not only a playoff spot, but maybe winning that division. But there are some problems right now with the Bengals. So, and that's a tough road matchup to what they're going to be facing with Denver too. So the landscape of the league makes this contest more difficult. And James, you're right. You definitely have to map out spots, not just hold on until you get to the holidays, but certainly map it out to where when you could use this elite team. We used Buffalo already on Thursday night once. And so with two other entries, when do we use Buffalo again, right? I mean, is it one this week and one next week or whatever? But it's intriguing, and that's what makes this the best contest, in my opinion, that I've ever seen. And when it comes to certainly a betting standpoint and survival standpoint and trying to get that trophy at the end of the year.
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills feel like a free square, like you said, James, but it's not that easy. There's 20 weeks in this contest if we go all the way. I think the Broncos will be a popular play. They have had real struggles and early downs, but they get a perfect opponent this week in the Cincinnati Bengals, who have been struggling on defense entirely, but also struggling on defense on early downs. So that could cure what is ailing the Denver Broncos offense. The Detroit Lions are interesting at home, a double-digit favorite. Some people have already used the Lions. We talked about the Bills. You have the Packers on the road at Dallas. James, what about this Texans game? I do believe the Texans are going to be a popular selection because it feels like just a free spot to be able to use Houston. You may not want to use them the rest of the entire year, but it scares me. A team that's 0-3 favored by a touchdown. I mean, Tennessee's got to win a game eventually, don't they?
Well, nobody goes undefeated and nobody goes winless for the most part in the history of the NFL. So do you really want to put your survivor risk on the line for a team that has probably, if not the worst offensive line in the league? We talked about it from the beginning of the season. Coming into the season, Houston had the worst offensive line. We've seen it. They don't have their stud and the heart and soul of their offense when it comes to Joe Mixon running the football. It's all fallen on CJ Stroud. I don't like the play calling that we've seen. They've really put him, as far as the offensive coordinator, putting him, as Stroud we're talking about, in bad positions to have to make a lot of throws down the field where he doesn't have the kind of time to throw the ball down the field, and there's no threat of a running game. I don't want to play this game. I have no interest in playing this game and taking the Texans here. I just start at the offensive line and looking at where we're in these matchups. And for a team like the Texans, yes, they're going to be playing at home against a bad football team. They've already made a change in who's calling the plays, which is probably a good thing for Tennessee as far as Callahan relinquishing those duties for the young quarterback, their rookie quarterback, Cam Ward. But if you're thinking about the other side and another team that has a bad offensive line, and you're traveling on the road, especially on Monday night, having to go into Denver, and Pritch, you know what that's like playing in Denver on a Monday night. It's neck and neck for me as far as the two worst offensive line. We talked about Houston. Cincinnati's right there too. There's a reason why Burrow's on the shelf again. It's because of the poor play up front. It's been that way his entire career. They haven't done anything to fix that and change that there. Now that's going to be a tough spot. You look at Denver's schedule, Pritch, and say, well, you've got some other spots down the road, and I know they're going to have the Giants coming up in a few weeks, but I think the challenge with that Giants game is going to be the scheduling standpoint for the Broncos. They're going to be coming off of 4 out of 5 weeks on the road, in particular games that are going to have to travel where they're coming back from a game in England. So, and for the Giants coming into that matchup, they're going to be coming off 10 days rest playing Thursday night football that week. I think this is probably the best spot to take the Broncos on this schedule, Pritch, going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and I think from a landscape standpoint, there's a lot of people that's already taken the Broncos. I think week 1, and so that's something to factor in too, guys. When when we look at the competitiveness of this contest and the usage rate. I mean, look at all the teams, and Derek's talked about this, how a lot of people are using multiple teams throughout the entire league. And I wonder if game theory really is going to step up this week. For instance, Brady, you mentioned the Texans in Houston. If you have, I don't know, if you're in a syndicate and you have 50 entries or something like that, and I mean, you want to guarantee certain situations, even though the Texans are kind of shaky, maybe you play Oppo there, right? And make sure that you still have some survivors getting through. I think we're going to see so many varieties this week because of what James mentioned, and Brady, you guys talked about the map. And people are going to start to realize, okay, how difficult it is to navigate this schedule this year. So buckle up. I mean, this could be an interesting week as well, guys.
Mike, from a player perspective, real quick here, Micah Parsons going back to Dallas. How does that play out?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, all week long, that's all he's going to talk about in the locker room. And if he's earned that respect from his teammates, which I think he has already, they're going to be extra fired up for him as well. So, I mean, maybe they lost that game last week because they're looking forward to this matchup.
Sunday night football, a big one in Dallas. The game of the week in Kansas City when we return on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Steiner's, a Nevada-style pub, invites you to play the best keno and video poker in Las Vegas. Promos are how we roll, so make the most of your gaming dollars with ongoing promotions, daily free play, bonuses, and more. With a chance to win Knights, Raiders, Aviators tickets, and big money with all those jackpots. It's not only great gaming at Steiner's, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers and the best appetizers to match. Steiner's, the Nevada-style pub, with 3 locations across the Vegas Valley. Steiner's, I love this place.
San Diego is home to Wolfpack Hospitality Restaurants, located in beautiful La Jolla. Stop by Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria on your next trip. Visit Cove House, a top 100 brunch in California, or Shore Rider, serving up margaritas, fish tacos, and a vibe that will make you feel like a regular in no time. For a slice of New York-style pizza with a California twist, it's Dough Mama Pizzeria, where the wings and pizza draw compliments from around the world. Go to wolfpackhospitality.com, and we will look forward to seeing you at Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria.
What a schedule it has been to open the season for the Kansas City Chiefs. They lose to the Eagles. They lose to the Chargers. They finally get a victory on the road at the New York Giants. And now they get to face the Baltimore Ravens, who are coming off of a brutal loss at the hands of the Detroit Lions. You figured these were 2 stalwarts coming into the season. And now at the end of week 4, one of them is going to start this season 1-3. James, this is probably the marquee matchup of the week, but not exactly the luster that we figured it would have coming into this season.
Well, big game as far as the both teams where their schedules are right now, or where their records sit right now, and feeling like this is a must win probably for both teams feeling that way. But I look at this Ravens defense, and that they got completely exposed. And I know it's a completely different matchup from the rushing attack that we've seen from the Detroit Lions, and the power that they brought and the consistency that they brought for 4 quarters, banging that football and really playing 4 quarters of 4 down football. I mean, Dan Campbell rolls the dice. He is not afraid to go out there and hit the hard 4 for sure and get those first downs, because he did it multiple times in that game against the Ravens. But ultimately, this is a beat up Ravens front. They're missing 3 of their defensive front linemen. Kyle Van Noy being out for the last couple weeks really got exposed. It was the rookie Mike Green, I think it's from Marshall. They really targeted him in that game, rushing the football, and he was getting blown off the ball. While this is the same lineup that's coming into this matchup, and it's not going to be so much for the Chiefs to be rushing the football. That's not the strength of their team, but it is the strength of their team to identify mismatches and be able to exploit it. And I think that's what's going to happen here, Pritch, is the middle of the field on the defensive side for the Baltimore Ravens is really banged up, really hurting here. And I think this is where the Chiefs have an opportunity, playing at home, mind you, as well. I think there's a lot of Chief haters. We saw it for years and years with the Patriots, and finally just wanting to see the Patriots lose, and a bias towards wanting to see a certain team lose. And as soon as you start to see a little frailty there, yes, we're going to go after it and get on them. But I don't like the Ravens coming into this matchup, going into Arrowhead against the Chiefs team that is finally getting healthy. You talk about the health on both teams too, Pritchard, and you're going to get Worthy back, maybe be able to extend the field a little bit. But I think the bigger piece here is just that defensive side in between those tackles up the middle, in between those numbers is really beat up for the Ravens. I think Mahomes and company are able to exploit it. Short passing game here, and I think they come out with a win. We're getting 2.5 points of value here as far as the contest is concerned, but I think the Chiefs win this game outright.
Yeah, how about that? I mean, giving Patrick Mahomes 2.5 points at home. I mean, that is highly attractive. And I don't care what the Chiefs are going through right now, and Super Bowl hangover, Super Bowl loser hangover. We all know about the history of that. Can they make the playoffs? But we are talking about this kind of quarterback when Patrick Mahomes. And so let's go into comparison here. Lamar Jackson has lost a step. When you talk about escaping the pocket, I mean, remember, you go back to 2018 when he was drafted, right? And that's a lot of tread on them tires, man. And I saw Detroit do some things that made things difficult because they understand how Lamar Jackson operates. He does want to make a play. He will hold on to the ball. He will make that mistake. He will think that he can escape the pocket. And then from a matchup standpoint, when I saw Aiden Hutchinson, who had the freedom to go up and down the line of scrimmage, purposely line up on Ronnie Stanley and kind of get after him, that said a lot to me. I think the roster for Baltimore is set in their ways, and they're older. And I think there is a prime spot here for Kansas City in those points. When you look at across the board too, seeing with that division, the Raiders find themselves in a precarious situation, having a Super Bowl caliber head coach and having a staff and having some expectations for this year, and then kind of stumbling out the gate. Got big victory on the road to start the season, but didn't look good against the Chargers, did not look great at all against Washington. So coming back at home, playing Chicago, a team that's trying to figure out a lot of things, the Raiders find themselves from a pick'em standpoint to laying one. Geno is not that bad of a quarterback. I think he's working through a new offense. Chip Kelly is trying to work through his personnel, but we're at the time of the year where they start to figure that out. And if I have to look at this coaching staff trying to figure that out right now for the Raiders at home, and I think Chicago's still in that discovery mode with Caleb Williams. I'm going to side on the side with the Raiders at this point, guys. Their defense is a guy like Max Crosby. He can disrupt any offense when there's an opportunity, and we know what Caleb is about too, a little bit. He had a great game against Dallas, but I think the Raiders are different than Dallas. They're built differently. They still have that difference maker from a Max Crosby standpoint that can get after the quarterback, the passer. And I don't believe Chicago is consistent enough running the football to where they can have solutions from an adjustment standpoint against what the Raiders are going to do. Brady, what are your thoughts on that game?
Well, I tell you what, anybody can look great against the Dallas Cowboys defense. And I think it is a sell high situation on the Bears. The Bears are not really that great. Look at the New York Giants. They looked like a world beater against the Dallas Cowboys as well. The Raiders were in an awful situation rest-wise last week. They didn't have much of a chance right from the start in that game against Washington. I think they come here. It's very telling, I believe, that the odds makers still have them as a favorite. And that's after the Bears were a 1.5 point favorite over the summertime. So for the Raiders to flip to the favorite here tells me a lot. I think this is a good opponent for them to get right and even their record at 2-2. Another beautiful ball game we have in Southern California, James, the Los Angeles Rams hosting the undefeated Indianapolis Colts. Indiana Jones coming to visit Matthew Stafford. Very interesting that we're getting a hook with the Colts in this matchup as well.
Surprise team of the season for me, especially Daniel Jones. Great job as far as Steichen being able to play to his strengths and get back to rushing the football. I mean, they have one of the best running backs and one of the top offensive lines that they've had for a number of years, but the last couple of years they've really gotten away from Jonathan Taylor in the power rushing game, and they've found it again, and it's really opened things up for Daniel Jones, making easy reads. Now, I know there are a couple injuries that I'm concerned with, in particular for the Colts, and not having Pierce most likely not going to play in this matchup, but yeah, this is thinking about where the Colts are and now going on the road again. I mean, they put it on Tennessee, but that was Tennessee. Now you're going to play a feisty Rams team after dumping that game. And really, they had that game won for 3.5 quarters, but I was watching it with my son during that game. I keep saying another field goal, son, another field goal. You're going to go on the road and knock off the defending champs. You've got to put it in the end zone. And I feel like we've kind of seen that throughout the season, the early season for the 3 weeks here with the Rams. A little concerned with their offense just not being able to put the ball consistently in the end zone and win games like that. So it's going to be a game that I think is going to be a tremendous watch, but I'm not really sure which side to go right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the line has moved to 3.5. There is a lot of support for the Colts, but it looks like the line has moved in the direction of the Los Angeles Rams. Maybe this is a wake-up call for the Colts. Maybe they come down to earth here in Los Angeles. We will see. When we come back, we wrap up the program and release all of our picks for all the Against the Spread and Survivor contests here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
When the football contest crew isn't busy dominating the field and making plays that leave opponents in the dust, they're doing something just as exciting. They're playing My Vegas Slots. It's a top-ranked, free-to-play mobile app that lets you earn valuable real-world rewards from amazing partners like MGM Grand, Bellagio, and Norwegian Cruise Line. You can score hotel stays, great meals, show tickets, and more just for playing. Download My Vegas Slots today from your favorite app store. And if you're anything like Brady, James, and Mike, we know you're going to love it. That's a winning play you won't want to miss.
Welcome back to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, presented by Circus Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Brady Cannon, Mike Pritchard, and James Salinas with you. It is that time when we release our selections. And boy, we had a tough one coming up with 5 selections against the number this week in both Circus Sports Million and the Westgate Super Contest. We are going to go with the same 5 teams, not a whole lot of difference as far as what the lines are. We're going to start with the Atlanta Falcons off of being shut out, catching a point at home against the Washington Commanders. We'll take the Browns, getting double digits, getting 10 points in the Super Contest and getting 9.5 in Circus Sports Million. We'll take the Raiders here at home, a 1-point favorite in the Super Contest, a pick'em in Circus Sports Million. We'll take the Chiefs, 2.5-point home dogs to the Ravens in both contests. And finally, on Monday night, the second half of a Monday night doubleheader, we'll take the Broncos laying 7.5 points, hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. And in Circus Survivor, we do not have a ticket in the Super Contest Survivor, but in Circus Survivor, we're going to take the Chargers, a road favorite against Jackson Dart and the New York Giants. And then we're going to put our remaining 2 entries on the Denver Broncos. And James, talk about the strategy here. It looks like that free square with the Buffalo Bills, but we're going to keep them in our pocket.
Partially because of week 5 and how challenging week 5 is going to be. And to me, the best game on the board to be able to take as far as Survivor goes in week 5 is the Buffalo Bills hosting, and granted it is a divisional game, but they are at home playing the New England Patriots. And now we look at week 4 and trying to find out where, like the motivation for the Chargers and the defense going on to play the Giants and rookie Dart, and really going to have to show him something. I think he's going to really struggle in that matchup, and they don't have a kicker either. So it's going to have to be 4 downs that really struggle to score for the Giants in that matchup, but more so on the Broncos. And looking at, there are some other spots for the Broncos, Pritch, that we could take them. You've got the Broncos hosting the New York Giants in week 7, as well as the Dallas Cowboys in week 8. But I think the challenge piece that I talked about earlier in the show with that game against the Giants in week 7 is just where the Broncos are going to be from a travel standpoint. They will be coming off of 4 games in 5 weeks on the road, which includes that week 6 matchup that is going to be in London. So just all that travel just feels like a flat spot coming back to play a bad Giants team. And the Giants are coming off a Thursday night football game where they've actually had 10 days to prepare for the Denver Broncos. So from that standpoint, I really didn't want to say that's the spot that we should play, just from the from that travel perspective, Pritch, as well as going into this game at Monday night. And you've played there in Denver for a number of years. I know it's not the same stadium, it's the same venue, it's the same spot, but playing in Monday night at home for the Broncos, and it's a salty team right now. This is the Denver team that has lost the last 2 games towards the last part of the game. We know what happened in week 2 against the Indianapolis Colts. I think this defense, forget about Bo Nix, not making big throws down the field. It's going to be the defense that wins this game against what I think is arguably the worst offensive line in the National Football League, Pritch, and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, it's a good matchup for the Broncos. And, if they're going to lean on their defense, certainly the home crowd will supply that energy, right? And it's a great matchup too. When you think about T. Higgins, who's the number one receiver, and then the great Jamar Chase, you got Patrick Surtain and certainly Moss. And I think BJ, former teammate of mine at University of Colorado, the defense coordinator right now, he's going to get after that offensive line. I think they feel confident that they can match up with those receivers. We'll see what Browning's made of on the road again here and in a hostile environment with a lot of pressure. So it's a good matchup for Denver. I think if they score points, obviously they're putting pressure back on Cincinnati too, who's trying to get right. I feel confident about the game and certainly our selections right there. Denver is just in a good spot, like you mentioned too, James. I mean, they are in a proven situation. They so many high expectations for this team. They could ill afford to go to 1-3, if you will, certainly out of the month of September. So, I like that momentum there, certainly at home for the Broncos.
They feel like a much better team than a 2-loss team at this point. That was really highway robbery at Indianapolis. Tough loss and hand it to the Chargers for coming back and beating them in week 3. But this feels like a good get right spot for that offense that has been struggling again on early downs, going up against the defense that does not perform well really at all and doesn't perform well on early downs either. So maybe Bo Picks becomes Bo Nix again here in week 4. We're heavy on the AFC West. All 3 of our Circa Survivor selections reside in the AFC West, and 3 positions against the spread also in that division. That is going to do it for episode 6, week 4 in the NFL, season 2 of the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Enjoy the games, everybody, and good luck with your picks. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks for tuning in to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Don't you just love football? God, what a fun sport.
Subscribe today on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts to receive weekly alerts as soon as the show's available. Good luck with your contest selections.
Pay that man his money.
And we'll talk to you next week.